Hello everyone, this is Katobar with the Emperor's Insight. Today I am going to show you the 48 locations of the Servitor Skulls in Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. Join me as I take you on the challenge of finding all 48 skulls in Space Marine. I can track them down. In today's video I'm going to show you all 48 Servitor Skulls scattered throughout the game, uncovering them. Finding them can be a little bit of a challenge due to their clever placement at times. The game is mostly linear, but for the most part, if you know what you're looking for, you can find them. The game developers did do an excellent job in hiding them, making it feel accomplishment. When you finally track down one, you'll start to appreciate the amount of detail, and then went into designing each area. I will break down each location, providing tips and tricks on how to find each skull, while also showing gameplay footage, better visualization, which will explore the different levels. I will also designate at certain times where you can find these, depending on where you are in the game at the time. Once I said before, this game is linear. Therefore, if you miss it, you'll either have to replay the chapter or finish the game without it. So be careful with that. So just before we get started, I'd also like you to take a look at this video if you need it. This video, linked in the top of my description and possibly showing on the screen at this time, is the tutorial on how to remove your save file so that you can do these videos. In order to properly show you each Servitor Skull collected, I had to delete my save file and ensure that it stayed off the system. In order to do it, I had to go into my Steam folder, find the save files, and manually remove it. Here's a tutorial on how to do it in case you have the same inkling to do the same. Rather you want to do a speed run and you need to make sure everything is gone in the data, or maybe you want to start completely fresh in a game. This tutorial will show you how to do it so you don't have to go through the same problems I did. Without further ado, let's go ahead and begin locating and showing off the 48 designated locations of the Servitor Skulls in Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. So the first Servitor Skull that you find begins in Chapter 2, right after you land on the planet. It's very easy to find. You go down the ramp, follow around, kill the small mob of goblins. Then you're going to see the first upgrade in this little mini chapel building. That is the upgrade. That's part of the mission. You turn right instead of left. Don't go towards the upgrade. You turn right, see a small barrier, blow it up, and you can't miss the first Servitor Skull. Servitor Skull number 2 is also relatively easy to find and easy to miss. You don't need to worry about looking for the Servitor Skull until after you rendezvous with the Karen of the Ultramarines that we all gladly know as Leandros. So once you meet Leandros, fight a mob of orcs with Leandros, then listen to the cutscene of him complaining about the Codex Astartes does not support his actions. You look straight down the ramp after that rendezvous, and you will see the next Servitor Skull to grab, making it number 2 of 48. So the next Servitor Skull, you've got some time before you have to start looking again. You're going to rendezvous with Lieutenant Mira of the Imperial Guard. She's going to be with you for a little bit, and then you're going to start seeing orc transport vehicles that tunnel underground. Once you start seeing them, you're going to start seeing bunkers. Servitor Skull number 3 of 48. And the next Servitor Skull is when you come up to this ruined building. Look above, there's going to be an orc that's going to ambush you with the high ground. Take him out real quick, and then just around the corner you're going to see an ammo crate. Go around that bend where that ammo crate is, and you're going to see the next Servitor Skull. The next Servitor Skull being 4 of 48. And the next Servitor Skull number 5, will be arriving shortly. So stay tuned and stay aware that it's right there. Once again, you're going to come up on orcs, some orc tunnel vehicles, and some bunkers. It's in one of the bunkers. Find it, and that's the last one for this chapter. For chapter 2, that'll be Servitor Skull 5 of 48. So Servitor Skull number 6 took me a minute to find, and I missed it a few times. I had to restart this chapter. So when you walk into this main room and you see the ammo loader, to the left of it, you see the next upgrade in progression of the level. Don't go towards that upgrade. If you go too far, you will not be able to double back. You need to go to the right to find the location and the entry point for the next Servitor Skull. It's a little damaged piece of the wall. You walk over it and look in, and you'll see the next Servitor Skull, making that 6 of 48 in the first one of chapter 3. Number 7 Servitor Skull, and the last one in this chapter, is very easy to find as well as miss if you're not paying attention. So once you get off of this loading screen in disguise that game designers call an elevator, you literally walk straight ahead and you should see it. If it had teeth, it would bite you. So pick it up and then enjoy the remainder of this mission, because that's the last one of chapter 3. You will not see any other Servitor Skulls until chapter 4. This is Servitor Skull number 7 of 48. Hello, I seem to have accidentally lost some of my footage. Oops. I hate doing that sometimes. So I am not going to go through the hassle of replaying. So chapter 4 Servitor Skull is footage from a different YouTube channel that Servitor Skull, because I accidentally did not know where it happened to the footage. So it's relatively simple to find, though, the Servitor Skull in question. So after you enter the train area of the chapter, make sure you grab the Servitor Skull before you board the train. If you board the train, you went too far. You battle a small group of orcs on the passageway on the right side, on the entrance side. Once you battle those orcs, you go around the corner to the left, and you will see the Servitor Skull just hanging there. Grab that Servitor Skull, enter the train, and that is the only Servitor Skull for this chapter. You can battle the boss, deal with the train without worrying about it. Once again, this footage is SOE game because I can't find my footage, and this is Servitor Skull 8 of 48 of the game, and the only Servitor Skull of chapter 4. So once you get into chapter 5, the Inquisitor, you're going to find 2 Servitor Skulls in this chapter. The first one is right in the loading area of the Manufactorium. If you see the Titan power weapon cannon on a crane, you're in the right area. Look around and you'll see it. This is Servitor Skull 9 of 48. So you've got some distance before you get the next Servitor Skull. This Servitor Skull is located after rendezvousing with some guardsmen and possibly the lieutenant. You'll then take this elevator down, also commonly called the loading screen in disguise, a common trick for us game designers. This is also after you've acquired the Force Axe, by the way, in case I forgot to mention that. And after the elevator / loading screen completes its screen, you walk just a little bit. You're going to walk onto a catwalk, and you're going to see the next Servitor Skull on the catwalk. This is 10 of 48, and the last one of chapter 5, the Inquisitor. Next Servitor Skull we are going to acquire is number 11. So, relatively easy to find. Look to the left. You're going to see a view of the Imperial Titan. If you look at the catwalk, you will see it. You will see the Servitor Skull. Around the same time you see the Titan, you'll see the Servitor Skull just sitting there. This is the first one in the chapter, and this is 11 of 48 Servitor Skulls. The next one will become available shortly after the last one. Real close, real quick. After you take an elevator, or what is now commonly called loading screen in disguise. So after your elevator in disguise, you end up in a smelting area / furnace of the manufactory. You are gonna fight some orcs, so be careful. Fight off the orcs. And do not go through the objective marker leading out. This is a fist that points to the next area. Don't go through it just yet. The Servitor Skull is in here. Avoiding going through the door with the objector as I specified. Continue on the catwalk and you're going to go up to a slightly elevated platform. If you keep following the catwalk, you will see the Servitor Skull. This is Servitor Skull 12 of 48. Okay, so first friendly advice for Chapter 7 in acquiring the Servitor Skulls. My highly recommendation, don't try to multitask. Take the orcs out first before you go searching for the Servitor Skull. Don't try to do both at the same time like I did. It took me a few attempts to get this skull because I spent a lot of time trying to fight orcs and then finding the skull. This one can be confusing to an extent. You're back in the sewers, or also known as the sleuth ways of the 40k universe. So, once again, fight the orcs. When you come up to 2 pipes, one left, one right, the first pathway is a fine. You can bypass that one. That one's fine. That's not where the servitor. But the second time you come up to a pathway where there's 2 pipes, look to the left and find it. However, once again, take out the orcs before you do that. Once again, it's the second split pathway you're going to come up to. One that leads left, one that leads right. The second time you come up to a left or a right pathway in this level is where the Servitor Skull is. This is Servitor Skull 13 of 48. The next Servitor Skull is a little bit of a blink and you'll miss it. Once you come up to this pathway near the end, it's after you get the multi-melta gun. Come out of this little tunnel. Jump back down to the catwalk. Look to your left, you're going to see a barricade that you need to explode. Blow up the barricade and look past it. You'll see the Servitor Skull. This is Servitor Skull 14 of 48. It's near the end of the level after you get the multi-melta. Okay, so I did it again and lost some of my footage. So once again, I am going to take the footage of the Servitor Skull from SOE game for Servitor Skull 50. Relatively easy to find. I'll explain more so. But once again, this is a disclaimer. This is SOE's footage, link in the description. So the first Servitor Skull of Chapter 8 is relatively easy and quick to find. Right after you drop down at the beginning of the level, just before you get to the plateau where you meet Inquisitor Drogon before you continue. This Servitor Skull is 15 of 48. Right after you pick up the las cannon will be the next Servitor Skull. Keep in mind that there will be a small firefight after you acquire the las cannon to take out some snipers. But after that firefight, you're going to look to the right. As you continue progressing, you're going to see a little corridor. In that corridor, you're going to see some dead bodies of Imperial Guardsmen. Look to the right, you're going to see a sleeping area. And you'll see the Servitor Skull on the ground of that sleeping area. This is Servitor Skull 16 of 48. Servitor Skull 17 is another one where you could possibly miss if you're not paying attention. It's also in a sleeping area shortly after going up some stairs. Look to the left and look into the sleeping areas. You just see Servitor Skulls, or the Servitor Skull, which Servitor Skull 17 of 48. This is another Servitor Skull that I would put under easy to miss if not paying attention. Once you get to this building in question, continue progressing through, you're going to see this Orc Rock, which is basically an Orc dropship stuck in the ground. And there's a cutscene that plays when he gets stuck. When you do, you're going to fall down into the crack, look around, you'll see the Servitor Skull in this area. This is Servitor Skull 18 of 48. 19 is easy but hard to find. Once again, you're going to be to a building. You're going to be in a firefight with orcs. Be careful, fight the orcs. Now, here's a friendly pro tip. Once again, don't follow the marker leading up the ramp. Number 2, when you go up the ramp, if you don't kill all the orcs and you see some of them fall back across the ramp, be careful when you go up there because they will ambush you. However, look to the left of the ramp, you're going to see the next Servitor Skull, Servitor Skull 19 of 48. The next ones in the remainder of this chapter are going to be found with the jump pack in quick succession. Shortly after you get the jump pack, go up to the area, walk across on the other side of the catwalk. You're going to jump up to the next platform, and there you will see Servitor Skull 20 of 48. And 21 might be one of the only times I actually tell you to follow the icon for a little bit. Fight or dodge around a small mob of orcs, and you're going to see a rock that looks like it's in the middle of a passage. Walk around the rock. Once again, eliminate or run away from the orc. You're going to see a flight of stairs. Jump to the right inside a little cubby space. You're going to see Servitor Skull 21 of 48. Servitor Skull 22, also, you're going to follow the icon for a little bit. And in this section, you're going to have a bunch of orcs you fight. Take out the weird boy as quick as you can. You'll know which one's the weird boy. And that will unlock the path. And then you can maneuver around what orcs remain if you choose to. In this scenario, I'd already eliminated the orcs so I could show you the area. Once you jump down, you go towards the indicator. It's amazing. Once again, when you get to this area, there's going to be a bunch of orcs you have to fight originally. But before you pass through the indicator, make sure you look to the right, and you're going to see a little hidden stairwell and passageway that you're going to need to go to. Once you go down the stairs, you're going to see Servitor Skull 22 of 48. 23 and 24 Servitor Skulls are near the end of the jump pack section. So if you by any chance progress farther and you remove your jump pack, then you have missed your chance to acquire 23 and 24. You'll need to restart. However, they are pretty close together. So like I said, progress the story up to this point, and you follow the icons for just a little bit, up until you get to this point on the screen. Once you get to this point in the screen, stop following the icon for a little bit, turn to the left, go straight down, go up a pair of stairs, and you're going to see the next Servitor Skull 23 of 48. And then 24, go back to the progression icon, but don't progress too far. Look to the right. You're going to see a little hidden pathway that you're going to jump to. Jump up about one, maybe two more times. Then you're going to jump left into a church area. You're going to see a statue of the Emperor in the middle of the pews, and the statue of the Emperor. You're going to see the next Servitor Skull 24 of 48, and the last one you're going to acquire in the jump pack section. And the last one you're going to get in this chapter. You've got some time before you see another Servitor Skull, because you're going to be on a Valkyrie in a rail shooting scene, which is very fun, and the Valkyrie's going to crash, and then you have to fight a bunch of orcs. There are no Servitor Skulls, so don't worry about any of that until you see the point that's on the screen. You're going to land with your squad and Inquisitor Drogon, and you're going to come up onto this desert wasteland area coming towards his facility. Now you're going to see a rock. It is going to crash and destroy the bridge. Once the orcs have been taken care of, remember what I said. Don't follow the objective marker. That's a common theme, except for last section. Go towards the broken bridge. Look to the left of the broken bridge. You're going to see a little cubby space in the mountain area. Go in there. You're going to find the next Servitor Skull 25 of 46. The next Servitor Skull is really close, and you can miss it if you're not paying attention. Once you progress towards the objective marker, you're going to see a Valkyrie that is crashed with a bunch of ammo and other supplies. Around that wreckage is the next Servitor Skull, which is 26 of 48. So now you got a little bit of time before the next Servitor Skull. You're going to make it all the way to the entrance to his research facility, but then you're going to progress just a little bit into another outside section. Looks like a bunch of damaged pipes. This one can be confusing, especially when you're fighting orcs in this area, especially orcs that once again have the high ground. You are going towards the objective marker when it shows up a little bit. But once again, don't leave the area. Before you walk up to the high ground that you are being sniped from by the orcs, you're going to look to the left, and some damaged rubble and one of the walls, you will see the next Servitor Skull, which is Servitor Skull 27 of 48. So first off, if you haven't already replaced your Thunder Demon Hammer, I highly recommend you do so right before you get to this point because you're going to need a scoped weapon to make this section easier, especially a las cannon. And a las cannon can one-shot these turrets you're going to see. Now, first Servitor Skull of this particular section. Knock out these 2 turrets that you see on screen real quick, real easy. Walk straight ahead and then look to your right. There's a dead end, and at that dead end is the next Servitor Skull. This Servitor Skull is number 28 of 48. The next Servitor Skull will be after you acquire the Kraken Bolter upgrade. Once again, you've got some turrets to fight. After you've taken out the turrets in this area, you're going to look to somewhere in the area. Depending on where you are, depends on where this passageway is. Walk into this passageway, it's going to lead you to an armory. Inside that armory is another turret. Take it out real quick, and then in that armory, to your left is the next Servitor Skull, which this Servitor Skull is 29 of 48. After you progress the story a little bit in the mission, you're going to come up to this area where you're going to insert the power source as part of the mission. But just before you do it, look and see where the door that is on fire, where the orcs came out of the explosion. After you take out the orcs, you're going to see the next Servitor Skull just to the left of that door. This is Servitor Skull 30 of 48. Chapter 11 is really easy, quick, and the first introduction to orcs, but there are no Servitor Skulls in it, so don't worry about it. And the first Servitor Skull is going to come relatively quick at the beginning of the level. You're going to come up to a passageway, look to the left, blow up the barricade, and the Servitor Skull's right there. This is Servitor Skull 31 of 48. The next Servitor Skull comes up when you reach the Iron Halo. In the same room that you find the Iron Halo, look to the left of the Iron Halo. It's within view. It could be easily missed if you're not paying attention, but look around the rubble, you'll see it. This is Servitor Skull 32 of 48. The next Servitor Skull is relatively easy to find. It's in another sleeping arrangement. You know you're getting close to it when you trigger a line from our favorite neighborhood Karen, Leandros, Blue Falcon Prick. It's going to be a short cutscene, and you're going to be able to find it. You might be able to find it before you get stuck in the cutscene, but if not, nonetheless, it's still in the same sleeping area. This is Servitor Skull 33 of 48. The next Servitor Skull is in an outside area after you witness a firefight between Orc, Chaos, and you rendezvous with some guardsmen. You see the objective marker that just popped on screen. Look to the left of it. You will see the next Servitor Skull, which is Servitor Skull 34 of 48. So Servitor 35 is glitched. It happened to me as well as it happened to SOE Game. When you grab the Servitor Skull, it's glitched, it seems like. You grab it, it still floats in the area. It does not count to the timer. But here's its location. Shortly after grabbing 34, you go down in this corridor, look to the right, a little cubby way, you grab that Servitor Skull. This would be 35 of 48. However, to keep the accuracy of my count for the remainder of the map, I am not counting this one at this time. However, I will show you how to re-grab it later, because that's how I had to do it. In order to get the achievement, I had to acquire it a second time. So it does require a second pass through. I'll show you where to start and where to end in this chapter to find it. For the purpose of the count, we are still currently at 34. This one is bugged. I will show you how to re-grab it later. The very next Servitor Skull is located right next to the plasma gun. As you can see, turn to the left, you'll see it. This one will count as 35 of 48 for the purpose of this review to maintain order. This is 35 of 48. Because there is a lot going on in this next section with a couple of firefights between guardsmen and orcs, it can be relatively difficult to find it, or just from the confusion of the firefights, so be mindful. Keep progressing through the level and through the trenches until you reach the objective update. The objective update will be you powering up the sentry guns. That's your objective upgrade, and your Marines plus Mirror will help hold the line while you do that. That's where you'll see the drop-off point where you drop off from the trench, and inside this little ammo cache, that's where you'll find the next Servitor Skull, which is Servitor Skull 36 of 48. The last one in this section is just before a boss fight. If you go through the door with the objective marker, you'll be led into a boss fight. Pick the weapons you want to take into the boss fight. My recommendation, do not take the demon hammer. It will impede you in this boss fight. You need range and more firepower from a distance to fight the war boss. However, this guide is not for that. It's for the Servitor Skulls. Look around the boxes. Look behind them. You'll find the next Servitor Skull, 37 of 48, just before the war boss fight. The next Servitor Skull is in Chapter 13, after the boss fight with the Orcs. In this particular one, you're going to find it relatively quick, and you're going to encounter chaos enemies for the remainder of the game. One of the chaos enemies you end up encountering are what called cultists, also known as traitor guardsmen. They are the traitors. You're going to fight some, and you should see the Servitor Skull hide in a hallway just to the left of your first encounter with the cultist, also known as traitor guardsmen. This is Servitor Skull, 38 of 48. This is the 10-minute warning, 10 skull warning. We are nearly there. If you continue progressing forward, you're going to see this one near an elevator. This is the next one. This is Servitor Skull, 39 of 48. Now please forgive me if my descriptions are getting a little bit difficult and vague. But nonetheless, this one, once again, continue progressing the story. You're going to see the large Titan, and you're going to see a small door you can enter. Enter that door. Behind some containers is the next Servitor Skull. Servitor Skull, 40 of 48. And the next Servitor Skull is after you have activated the Titan in the Manufactorium. It's starting to move. You are on this catwalk. Look inside the middle door. The middle door of this area. After you activate the Titan, you will find the next one, 41 of 48. So the next three Servitor Skulls in Chapter 15 are as follows. The first one, after you go down the lift, aka the loading screen disguise, you should blatantly see it in plain sight straight ahead. This is Servitor Skull, 42 of 48. The next one is a damaged area, ruins, pipes, damage, explosions, definitely something around those lines. You're going to have a firefight with some traitor guardsmen and chaos space marines. After that, the indicator, the objective marker that leads you to the next area. You're going to look to the right of it after you get close to it. You're going to see a little hideaway where the Servitor Skull will be. That is Servitor Skull, 43 of 48. If you keep progressing through this stage, which is a gauntlet, and I do say it is a gauntlet, you're going to come up to an area where you fight some demons, and some heavy bolters will come in to assist you. Your next Servitor Skull will be located at the end of this hallway after this firefight by these weapons. Unfortunately, my dum-dum accidentally acquired it in a different recording that I lost, but this is my recording, so this is Servitor Skull, 44 of 48. And the final set of Servitor Skulls will be in the final jump pack section and one just after it. Then you'll have to revisit. So in the first one, right after you go into the main external area after the mission begins, continue progressing, you will see this Servitor Skull. This is Servitor Skull, 45 of 48. And the next one, Servitor Skull, 46, will arrive very shortly. After an engagement with enemies in the next external area, you're going to see a little platform that is just ascended above all. The bigger one you are, jump up there, fight, defeat the Chaos Space Marine or any other enemies that may be there, and you should see Servitor Skull, 46 of 48. Servitor Skull, 47, just before the one we're going to revisit that's glitched, is this one. Now, real quick, take out the enemy in front of you. This one can be missed if you're not paying attention, but I recommend taking out the flying drone before you attempt to find it. Once the drone is complete, this is the final Servitor Skull that you will be able to acquire at the end of the catwalk. This is 47 of 48. We are going to do the revisit that I explained to show you that the glitch can be overlooked and you can acquire the achievement. So real quick, for this revisit, you need to go to Dying Light, go to the second checkpoint, Enemies Aplenty, and play the stage normally until you get to the point to retrieve the Servitor Skull. And then watch the screen. And just like that, that's how you complete Warhammer 40k Space Marine. That is all 48 skulls, and thus you have earned the achievement, Liberation of Macragge. With that in mind, stand by for the outro. If you choose not to stand for the outro, thank you for tuning in and using my guide. Like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, here comes the outro. And that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for Warhammer 40k Space Marine Servitor Skull Collection. If you followed this video from start to finish, you have now 100% and earned yourself the achievement Liberation of Macragge if you're playing on Steam. For those who tuned in from start to finish, thank you from the bottom of my heart. For those who tuned in only to find specific skulls, I thank you for that as well. And I hope this video finds you in good health and found you able to complete. With that in mind, I'm not going to hold you up any longer. Stay tuned for the future of this channel. Stay tuned for the future. Stay tuned for the future. More 40k stuff to come. More gaming stuff to come. So with that in mind, like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know what's coming next. Until then, this is Katobar with the Emperor's Insight.